What's going on, everyone? Let's talk about Anthony Davis for a minute. Yes, Anthony Davis had a very rough sequence, right? He was solid that game, but down the stretch, final like 10 seconds or whatever it was, just had a series of blunders, right? He ends up fouling on a three-point shot by Kleber. He goes down, knocks all three free throws. Anthony Davis, he gets fouled, goes to the free throw line, chance to put us up three. Ends up missing a free throw, and of course you knew what was coming. Kleber ends up knocking down a three. Anthony Davis misses, rotates a little too late on that assignment, ends up knocking down the three, and we lose that game. And it sucks. It hurts. And since then, all of the backlash on Anthony Davis, and, to an extent, rightfully so. I get it. But I see so many people that say, you need to trade Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis needs to be traded. Go get Anthony Davis. Go trade Anthony Davis for X, Y, and Z. And it is the silliest thing in the world to me. It makes zero sense. One, who are you trading Anthony Davis for? And I know people call Anthony Davis street clothes, but he plays as many games as like half the stars in this league. I mean, Zach LaVine, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram. Like, the list goes on and on for guys that he plays the same amount of games, if not more than, right? I mean, even guys like Jamal Murray, he's played more games than in the last several seasons. Like, this is a guy, yes, it sucks. He's hurt. He misses games. It happens. But his impact is unlike any other impact in the league. I mean, you're talking Giannis level impact. Now, Giannis is the better player. He is the best player in the league, in my opinion, currently. But for those that think I'm just making stuff up, here, let's really break this down, okay? Anthony Davis, for one, is leading the league this year in 30 points and 15 rebound games. He's doing that this year. Anthony Davis is also giving you 26 points, 12 and a half rebounds, 2.6 assists per game, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. And has he's an 80% free throw shooter, which, is rough when he's missing shots like that. He's shooting 57, almost 58% from the field. He's shooting 60% from the 2-point range. His true shooting is off the charts. Everything about him is incredible. But here's the thing, okay? Anthony Davis has a defensive rating of 107.9 this season. 107.9. The league average is 115. The league, think about that. Anthony Davis is a monster defensively. Do you know what Giannis's defensive rating is? 107.4. Anthony Davis is 1A, 1B to Giannis on defensive impact. He has the best defensive win shares in the league this year. I mean, Anthony Davis by himself takes us from like a bottom 20 defense to like a top 15, top 10. We have the number one defense in the league since the trade with Vanderbilt. And that's because you have a guy like Vanderbilt who now can guard the perimeter. And then on top of that, you have Anthony Davis who can just shut down and control the paint. And people want to trade this guy. People want to trade this guy. That is insane to me. Now, let's look at Giannis' stats, right? In comparison, Giannis is giving you 31 and a half points per game. He's also giving you 12 rebounds per game, 11.9. So Anthony Davis has a slight edge on the rebounds this year. Giannis, again, this is the best player in the world. He's giving you 5 assists to Davis's, 6 or 3. He's also giving you less than a steal. So Anthony Davis is actually averaging more steals than Giannis, and he's averaging double the block shots of Giannis. Literally. So yes, Giannis is giving you 5 more points per game and 2 assists. Outside of that, Anthony Davis is a better free throw shooter, 80% to 65% by Giannis, better 3-point shooter. He actually has a better EFG percentage. Anthony Davis has a better 2-point percentage this year. I mean, again, people want to trade Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis is basically giving you Giannis level stats this year. Literally. And, by the way, because let's put this in perspective, Giannis is giving you 5 more points per game than Anthony Davis. but he's also taking 4 more shots. So if Anthony Davis, based on his field goal percentage, if Anthony Davis gave or took the same amount of shots, then Anthony Davis would be averaging more points per game. So if Anthony Davis was averaging, 22 to 25 shots per game, then he would be averaging more than Giannis. So on the offensive side, on a defensive side, on a rebounding side, on everything. And people want to trade this guy? Who are you trading him for that's going to have a bigger impact? I know it sucks when Anthony Davis doesn't play. I know people want Anthony Davis to be this absolute monster, and there are stretches where he plays like he is the best player on the planet. And then there's other games where he just kind of seems like, he just kind of disappears at times. I get that. It's frustrating. And I'm not talking about the games where, he has 8 points and we win. I don't care about that. That's one thing I give Anthony Davis credit for. A lot of stars, they want their stats. They want their 25 a game, whatever, right? Anthony Davis, he only cares about winning. That's all he cares about. As long as they win the game, he's good. If he's 8-8 and is just controlling the paint and the defensive end, then he could care less about anything else, right? That's his job. That's what he's good at, right? So, and I respect that. I love that. Would I love him night in and night out to just be this dominant, because Giannis is dominant, right? Giannis just puts his head down and just goes. And he's this just incredible motor. But that's why Giannis is the best player in the league. I'm not saying Anthony Davis is better than Giannis. I think Anthony Davis has the potential if he does play to the level we know he can play. But he's still a top 10 talent. And in order to trade a top 10 talent, you need to get back at least a top 10 talent. Who in the top 10 outside of Giannis is giving you the same stats? Nobody. There's not another player that's giving you both sides of the ball to the level that Anthony Davis is. Joker isn't. Embiid isn't. Nobody is giving you the level of both sides of the basketball. I'm talking about both sides of the basketball. Nobody is giving you that level as Anthony Davis is outside of Giannis. He is literally 1A, 1B with Giannis. And people want to trade Anthony Davis for Miles Turner and Buddy Hield, or trade for Kyrie Irving, or trade him for a bag of chips. It makes no sense to me. Anthony Davis had a terrible stretch. It sucked. It was a bad sequence. It happens. Guys do it. LeBron had several games this season, especially early on, that he single-handedly felt like lost us the game. No one player loses us a game. You don't lose a game on one guy. But there were games where we're, up 1 or down 1, and LeBron has the ball. He's 0-7 from 3, dribbles the clock out, and then takes a step back 3. When it's like, dude, you're 0-7. These guys haven't been able to stop you walking to the rim all game. Why aren't you going to the rim? There's or turnovers, right? He'd have a bad turnover, or he'd just make a bad play, or just miss a defensive assignment. He had several of those. He had one in the Thunder's game, one in the Portland game. He had 2 in one of the Grizzlies game, back to back. It was just rough. It happens. Guys have bad moments. Guys have bad stretches. It does. It happens. But the idea of Anthony Davis isn't the guy and doesn't make the impact and all of that stuff, it's silly. Every stat says otherwise. Everything you look at says otherwise. But he's also a guy that needs to be set up. He's not, even Giannis has to be set up at times, right? Yes, he's a guy that can go coast to coast. We've seen Anthony Davis go coast to coast. But you need to run sets. You need a guard that can feed him the ball, just like Embiid. Embiid, if they just don't pass him the ball and Embiid doesn't get his 30 shots. Anthony Davis isn't a Joker type player where you're running your offense entirely through him. He's not. He's a very different player, right? So Anthony Davis, again, though, has that impact. And he doesn't necessarily have to be the guy. We have LeBron James. Yes, at some point he needs to transition, but we've seen him. We've seen Bubble Anthony Davis, who was the best player on the planet and just could not be stopped. We've seen stretches this year. He had a 2-3 week stretch where he was just unbelievable. You're just like, man, Like, where's this? Like, if this Anthony Davis plays this way the rest of his career, he might go down as, we might win 10 championships, right? He just looked that good. He has that in him. It's just, again, that drive at times, right? Him being in and out, right? And he's had his flaws. Don't get me wrong. He came into the season and he's, out of shape, or Shaq did the same thing. And people weren't screaming to trade Shaq. Kobe historically is on record repeatedly talking about how lazy and fat Shaq would come into training camp and stuff like that, right? Like, it happens. It's frustrating. But Anthony Davis is a literally generational talent. If you don't, go look up all the stats I just gave you. All of them. It's true. Anthony Davis is 1A and 1B with Giannis this year for defensive rating. He has the highest defensive win shares, the highest defensive impact. He's giving you 26 and 12 and a half with 1 steal, 2 blocks, 3 assists, and he's doing it on 17 shot attempts per game. Like, the dude is just, the guy is unbelievable. Even bad games. He had people were crucifying him for a bad game, 2-3 games ago? And he gave us 17 points and 16 rebounds with 3 blocks, 2 steals, 5 assists, and that was a bad game for him. A bad game for him. That is like career nights for 90% of the league. To go and get 17 points, 16 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks, and that is considered a bad night for Anthony Davis, that in and of itself tells you how good he is. People thought he was trash in the Mavericks game. And he gave you, He gave you 26 points and still, he just had a bad sequence. It happens. Guys have bad sequences. Guys have bad moments. But this idea of trading Anthony Davis, when LeBron leaves, right? Maybe I could see them doing that. Like, if Anthony Davis is like, hey, I want to go elsewhere, you should trade me. Okay, I could see that. Maybe you work out a sign and trade. Maybe you do a deal. Okay, but as long as LeBron's on this team, and as long as we are serious about trying to compete and contend for championships, you're not trading Anthony Davis. It sucks that he's not on the court. It sucks. It does at times. But when he is, there's no one else like him other than Giannis in the league. Literally, no one else in the league like him besides Giannis. And even in a bad Mavericks game, which people thought he was terrible in, he still gave you 26 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block. Only had 2 turnovers, had a plus rating, because a lot of people really love plus minus. He was 9 of 14 from the field. Like, these are bad games for Anthony Davis. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You don't trade Anthony Davis. If at some point we're ready to hit the reset button or the rebuild button or whatever, then yeah, sure. But if we're serious about winning championships, there's nobody else out there right now that we can realistically trade for that will have more of an impact than Anthony Davis. Now you have a team with depth, you have a team with talent, you have a real roster. Now you're gonna have a whole preseason, offseason, training camp, all that stuff next season to really kind of figure it out and put together. But next year, you should be able to lower Anthony Davis's minutes. You should be able to load manage him and rest him some games, and have him sit out. But when we need him in the playoffs, you got to think, we have never lost a playoff series with Anthony Davis healthy. We would have beaten the Suns and very likely went back-to-back if Anthony Davis didn't get hurt. We were up 2-1. They had absolutely no answer for Anthony Davis. LeBron James was making Jay Crowder look like his son. We were on our way to a 3-1 lead, and Anthony Davis got hurt. And all of a sudden, boom, that was it. It was over, right? And then the whole Russ situation. So, look, what did Draymond Green say? Draymond Green said, hey, no one has ever beaten us healthy, right? No one has ever beaten us healthy. And last year they were healthy and they won the championship. Nobody's beaten the Lakers when Anthony Davis and LeBron James are healthy in the playoffs. And we might very well have a healthy LeBron James and Anthony Davis this year in the playoffs. So good luck. That's my point. You're not trading Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis needs to bounce back, get this win, and he'll be good. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Do you agree, disagree, however you feel. Love to hear it. Let me